Hello and welcome to the latest in the series of Manufacturing Management Meet the Sponsor interviews, where we're speaking to some of the sponsors of the upcoming Scottish Manufacturing Advisory Service Conference, which is taking place digitally on the 15th and 16th of June. My name is Chris Beck. I'm the editor of Manufacturing Management, the primary media partner for the event. This year, the event is titled Making Scotland's Future. It's going to be exploring the role that manufacturing is playing in Scotland's post-pandemic recovery. I'm delighted to be joined today by Sarah Jardine, Chief Operating Officer, and Stephen Fitzpatrick, Lead for Machining and Additive Manufacturing at NMIS, the National Manufacturing Institute of Scotland, a new centre for advanced manufacturing that's being built just outside Glasgow. NMIS is one of the sponsors of the conference, and they're going to be delivering both a keynote conference session via Sarah and a workshop at the event. Thanks to you both for joining me today. Sarah, I'll come to you first. Why is NMIS supporting the conference this year?
Hi Chris, thanks for having me. We're supporting the conference because it's really the best opportunity to connect with manufacturing organisations across Scotland. You tend to get everybody in the same place, although this year the same virtual place. And I think the thing that's really great about the conference is there's lots of great speakers, and there's a stellar lineup this year. I think Nick's pulled up lines are getting all these speakers to be able to speak remotely. But the other interesting parts of the conference are about the side conversations that happen when you can sense the mood of the conference. You understand if what you're doing is hitting the right spots for people, and you get an opportunity to connect with different organisations across different sectors. So for us, it's a really key part of our calendar in the year.
Absolutely, and you mentioned some of the speakers there, and indeed you're going to be delivering one of those keynote conference sessions. What's your keynote going to be about?
I am delivering one of the sessions in the conference, and I wouldn't include myself in that stellar lineup of other important manufacturing people. But for anybody who's ever heard me speak before, my address or speech this year is centres around the same things as it always does, about people. For me, manufacturing is really about people. And I think, post-pandemic, how we've treated those people is going to be even more important than it was before. So, I'll talk about companies who really live their values and the importance of really living your values, as well as really engaging your people. And also about the, I guess still the same stuff as usual, the continued and consistent application of common sense when it comes to, what to take on next when we're looking at technologies or listening to different ways of working. There's nothing wrong with any of these tools, but they're not necessarily right for your organisation. You've got to pick the right ones for your organisation. That's, don't just pick up on the buzzwords, really apply your common sense to those things. So that's what I'll be talking about.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds fascinating. Kind of looking at the bigger picture, really, what role is NMIS set to play in Scottish manufacturing? What's your kind of purpose?
Yeah. So NMIS is there to really help organisations take their great ideas and actually put them into practice. So sort of cover that valley of death, we call it, between sort of that university-led research and the low TRL levels of technologies and products, and really take them to the sort of productionize those ideas and technologies. But we're there really to be whatever our manufacturing community needs us to be in Scotland. So we're there to to support those organisations. I think whatever we'd conceived a few years ago that NMIS might be, it's very different now, the needs of the manufacturing community. So we're there to support those manufacturing organisations, really to go, particularly post-pandemic, from fragile to agile. There's a number of organisations who have actually had opportunities during the pandemic. They've embraced the opportunity to diversify their product range, to, some of them even to press go on some significant investments. But there's a number of other organisations who've been left vulnerable. And the ones who seized the opportunities were the ones who were flexible and agile enough to deal with what got thrown at them. We need to take those ones that have been left vulnerable and help to make them agile as well. So we're there to help support that. But within the UK, we're there to give our manufacturing organisations, if we don't have the expertise that they need, to give them access to our wider network. So to give them access to a wider network within Scotland and also within the UK, we're part of the High Value Manufacturing Catapult, which is a number of centres spread across the UK. So they can access those, and outside of Scotland, we're a beacon to attract investment, you know, to make Scotland a world leader in advanced manufacturing. So don't really have big lofty ambitions at all, really quite small and quiet.
Absolutely. You spoke a bit about the pandemic and the events of the last year or so just there. How important a role is manufacturing going to play, not just in Scotland's post-pandemic recovery, but the kind of wider UK?
So I think, you know, manufacturing during the pandemic really stepped up to the plate. It really, and I've actually never been more proud to work in the manufacturing community as the things that you see, the things that you saw during the pandemic across the UK, not just in Scotland. We saw organisations step up to the challenge of providing ventilators. You know, here in Scotland, when we look at PPE is a really great example. We really had no PPE procured in market pre-pandemic. Post-pandemic, if you take gloves out of the equation, about 80% of our PPE is actually manufactured here in Scotland. So we've seen manufacturing organisations really step up to those challenges that the pandemic threw at them. And I think they will step up to the challenges post-pandemic as well. I think, you know, where manufacturing thrives, communities thrive. So manufacturing is really going to be key to the recovery of the whole community, you know, to making sure that we've got well-paid jobs and organisations that can address the challenges that the economy is going to throw at it as we move forward. So I think those things are really important. I think manufacturing is going to be key to that recovery.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a very exciting time, like you say. It's been a very interesting year for the industry. Thanks very much, Sarah. Stephen, a question for you now. What's the focus of the workshop that NMIS is going to be hosting this year?
Thank you. So the workshop is around additive manufacturing, and what we'll be looking to do is help SMEs to understand the business benefits, but also the technology benefits of additive manufacturing for their business. And that's the main drive around the workshop this year.
Sure. And how important is it, do you think, for manufacturers and especially SMEs, like you mentioned there, to be looking at technology, whether that's automation or something like additive manufacturing?
I think it's particularly important, you know, as we come out of the COVID pandemic. You know, when we look at Scotland's recovery plan, you know, innovation is a key element of that. And I think if, you know, SMEs in particular can adopt, you know, innovative technologies, as you mentioned, automation and some novel manufacturing processes such as additive manufacturing, then it positions themselves and their business as well in a future or a post-pandemic world. You know, I think there's other aspects that are going to be important for manufacturing businesses within Scotland and the UK in general, particularly around sustainable manufacturing processes. And I think that's key when we're looking towards, you know, Scotland's net zero future or UK's net zero future, that we adopt everything to do with manufacturing in a more sustainable way.
Of course, yes, absolutely. And what support does NMIS provide to manufacturers looking to you know, dip their toe in the world of automation and things like additive manufacturing?
So there's a number of ways that NMIS can support. We have a number of different technology teams within the centre that can support through expertise. We have a range of manufacturing industrial scale equipment where we can carry out trials for organisations and, you know, take them through that or help them to de-risk the adoption journey for them on particular manufacturing technologies. And we can also support them on looking at perhaps collaborative funding, where we can help them to accelerate and develop the innovations that they want to adopt within their businesses.
Obviously, as we're moving into the post-pandemic world, we've had the disruption of Brexit, and obviously, you know, the ongoing challenges around sustainability. How important a role is technology, whether that's automation or additive manufacturing or anything else really, how important is that going to be for manufacturing, not just in Scotland, but across the UK really?
I think it's imperative. I think through innovation, companies can be globally competitive. And, in a world that's just been through COVID and through the challenges associated with Brexit, I think it's, as I mentioned, imperative that companies adopt new and innovative manufacturing technologies and processes. You mentioned a couple there in automation, additive manufacturing, and I think digital technologies are key to Scotland and the UK's future in manufacturing as well. You also mentioned sustainability and sustainable manufacturing, and I think through some of these processes, including the digital aspects of them, we can also start to look towards achieving the net zero targets that have been put to us by the UK and the Scottish governments.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, thanks. Unfortunately, that is pretty much all we have time for today. But if you'd like to hear more from Sarah, Stephen, or indeed the wider team at NMIS, make sure you tune into their workshop session and, of course, Sarah's keynote presentation as part of the world-class speaker lineup, which also includes Henrik von Schiele, the so-called father of Industry 4.0, and Rami Goldratt, CEO of Goldratt Consulting. To find out more, visit www.smas.co.uk to book your place. My thanks for now go to Sarah and Stephen. Thank you both for your time today, and thank you to everyone who's watched. I look forward to seeing you at the conference on the 15th and 16th of June. But until then, stay safe and goodbye.